Hello, I am live. I am live. Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm so glad that you decided to join me in this video today where I'm discussing how I was a 25-year-old millennial that did purchase 3 acres of property. So I'm very, very, very excited to dive into the details. As you see here, I have my notes so that way I can stay on topic. Now, the first question is, when did I buy my property? So my first ever real estate purchase was done in December of 2016. And the backstory to all of that is we have a neighbor, right? So at our family house, we have a neighbor, and that neighbor is all into doing the most with the lease. So he is the type of person that wants to buy a lot of property but doesn't want to spend a lot of money on it. And so he came and he told my mom that there was some property for sale in a specific county in Florida, and they were selling it literally pennies on the dollar. Now, because I'm super excited about all things generational wealth, because there is a wealth gap, and one of my aims is to work my best to try and close that gap, right? So because I'm like, oh, property, that's one way that you can earn wealth or gain wealth so that you can pass it on for generations that are yet unborn. So wealth, stocks, and business. Now, when he said that years ago, I was like, yes, let's do it. I'm very, very into it. And I didn't do much research. So all he did was just gave us a website, and we went on there and we went through the process of buying the property. The property was sold. It didn't involve any realtors or anything like that. It was sold by owner, and the deal was brokered through a title company. And so my price that I paid for my 3 acres at that time in 2006 was $5,500. Yes, $5,500 is what I paid for my 3 acres that I bought in 2016 when I was 25 years old. Now, being a property owner, it was my first ever property purchase, and I'm also into agriculture. So because I'm into agriculture, I'm just like, yes, I must have land. Why? Because there's no more land being made, right? Not unless like there's an earthquake and then the earth opens up and then, the earth starts to spread. But seeing as how that is not the case, right? That's not the case. There's no more land that's being made. And one of the fastest ways, right, in my research, one of the fastest ways that you can actually build wealth is through real estate. So I'm just like, okay, I already have a business that is doing very, very well. And we'll get into more conversations in a separate YouTube video. But in this case, I'm like, yes, I want to get into real estate. I want to get into it. So that is how much I paid, $5,500. And that was for 3 acres. And now, where did I buy it? I don't know where my mom found found the land from, like what website the neighbor told her. All mom said to me was, hey, there is property that is being sold. There are 2 lots. So I have 3 acres, and then mom has 3 acres right next to me. And so the main goal was that because I'm into agriculture and I wanted to be able to have different types of cattle. I have a horse, like I have a thoroughbred. He's like 5 years old. And I'll do a separate video about my horse. But I knew I always wanted to have enough land to do whatever I wanted to on that property. And I didn't want land where I'm just living on it. And so in that particular county where I bought, hold on one second. Let me go and get my charger. Okay, let's see. Are we still live? Okay. Are we still live? Let's see. All right. I think we're back now. I think we are back. Okay, so now when it comes down to it, right? When it comes down to, where was I in this conversation? Yes, so in that particular county where I bought my property, I wanted to be able to have agriculture and do whatever I wanted to do with the land. And in that county, they have a rule that says in order for you to have the agriculture exemption, meaning that you can plant whatever you want to plant, you can have whatever animals that you want to have, you have to have above 5 acres of land. And so the plan originally was for mom and I to join our property since they're right next to each other. I have 3 acres, she has 3 acres. We're going to join it. That makes 6, meaning boom, the box is checked and now I have above 5 acres. So that was the original plan. Now, when we bought the land, or when I bought my land, right, I did not go to do a survey of the mistake number 1. So when it comes to do's and don'ts, always get a survey of the land. Second, do's and don'ts is make sure, right, or don't buy a property on scene. Like, go and do some investigation into the property. And the reason I say that is because my first property that I bought, the 3 acres, it is in what's called a protected area of the county. And the protected area is a wetlands, right? So they're not going to bring any electricity out there or anything like that. Now, are people living with people that live out there? And because it's the wetlands, whenever it rains, it's the rainy season, it's always going to be like, the only way you can get out there is a boat, right? Now think about that. You have land, but the only way that you can get to your land is by a boat. Listen, I've learned a lot since buying my first property, which is what I'm talking about here. So the do's and don'ts of my property buying. What I've learned: 1, do not buy land that you have not seen. Whether you're doing a virtual tour, whether you are doing Google Earth or something, do not buy property that you have not seen. Number 2, my thing that I've learned as well, make sure that that property has some type of a formal address. So when I bought my property, my first property purchase for the 3 acres, it did not have like an actual address. It just says lots this, like lots E and F of tract 72, right? That's how it was designed, or that's how the address was written. So what does that mean? That means that there are no formal roads, right? That means that there is no real infrastructure there on the property. So honestly, that's a mistake that I made, but it's a learning lesson. Now keep in mind, people are still trying to buy my land. They're trying to buy my land from me. So did I make some mistakes? Yes. But are they really that costly? Not really. Not really. So since buying my land, another thing that I've learned is whenever you're buying property, you want to make sure that you have a way to turn that property into an income producing property. Why? Unless like you plan on living there. And the reason being is because every year you're going to have to pay property taxes. So because you're going to pay property taxes every year, that property, they say, oh, buy property because it's always going to be an investment. Not unless it's producing an income. Not unless it's producing an income. That's one of the reasons why I'm not an avid home owner, right? Where I'm just like, oh, you have to have a home. You have to have a home. Yes, having a home is nice, but if I've lived with, our family house, like we have so many things that every year we have to fix this, we have to fix that because it's a home, right? And it's not an income producing property. Right? It's not an income producing property. So with that being said, that's my third thing that I have learned from purchasing my 3 acres back in 2016. Whenever I'm buying property, I always need to think about how am I going to be able to turn this into an income producing property. So let's see. Why did I buy the property? I've already addressed that. It comes down to, it's just one method that I'm using to build generational wealth. That's what happens. It's one method I'm using to build generational wealth. Now, where did I buy the property from? It was a personal referral. My mother told me about the opportunity to buy the property, and she found out from our neighbor. Okay. How was the buying process? The buying process was very seamless. It was nothing in person. It was all done through the mail. Very different from my subsequent property purchase. Very, very different. And I'll talk about my second property purchase in another video. But if you're interested in following me on my real estate journey so that you can learn my, the details, then definitely go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram with the phrase real estate investment. Just send me a DM with the phrase real estate investment. My Instagram is tc.atkinson, Atkinson. All right. Let's see here. How was the buying process? It was all done through paperwork. It was all done through paperwork. And when you send me that DM, I will give you the full breakdown of how much I paid the title company, how much all these additional fees really turned out to be. But please know the 3 acres was a total of $5,500. And that was just, like I said, from my portion. Let's see. What are the different fees? I'll deep dive into that in like my private group. When did I buy it? In 2016, is December 2016 is when I bought my first ever property, which was 3 acres. And what's the cost to maintain it? The cost to maintain my property now is really just paying my property taxes. Because if I don't pay my property taxes, then what's going to happen is if you don't pay your property, I don't care if you don't have a mortgage on your properties. If you don't pay your property taxes, then you are going to have a lien put on your property. And a lien is saying that you owe the county, because how does the county function? The county functions by levying taxes so that it can pay for the roads, it can pay for different upkeep of the city, things like that. That's how the county really makes money. And so with property taxes, if you don't pay your property taxes and no one pays their property taxes, then the county isn't really going to be upkept, right? So therefore, long story short, if you don't pay your property taxes, your property will be snatched up by the county. But before they snatch it up from you, they're going to put a lien, meaning an IOU, right? I owe the company or I owe the county. And then someone can pay for the lien, right? Like when you buy tax liens, tax deeds, but that's a separate conversation. I don't want to dive deep into that. Long story short, the main upkeeping is making sure I'm paying my property taxes. And every year in December, I get a letter from the county where my land is, and they say that my property taxes is like $180 every single year. But if I take, let's say I wait until January to pay it, then it goes up. And every month that I wait to pay my property taxes, it goes up. I always pay my property taxes in December. Why? Because I want to pay the least. I want to pay the least amount to keep my property. So yes, I'm going to be paying on time. So if you do the math, that is, I didn't pay my property taxes in December of 2016 because I had just bought the property. So I paid my property taxes starting December 17, December 18, December 2019, and then this year, 2020. So that's 4 years, call it like $200. Let's just estimate. So 4 times 200, 2468. So that's $800 that I have paid around. It's way less than 800. I would say like maybe 700, but I'm rounding up to 200. So it's around $800 that I have paid to maintain and keep my property since getting it in 2016. All right. Next question is, I already answered what's the cost to maintain it. Would I do it again? Would I purchase property again? Yes, absolutely I would. And I have, right? I would and I have. But like I said, I'll do a separate video on my most recent property purchase, which is 5.01 acres. I'll do a separate video about that. Would I do it again? Yes, I would purchase property again. I would encourage you to purchase property. If you want more details, definitely join my private real estate investment group. It is not something where I'm going to try to sell you into property. I'm really just sharing with you the real extra details of the fine print of my own property journey. So go ahead and send me a DM, real estate investment. Just send me real estate investment and I'll send you the link to get into the group. So would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again. I have done it again, and I would encourage you to get more property. And that's another thing. My mom, she buys real estate like how some people are like, oh, they need to have cars. They need to have like handbags. That's how mommy is. Like mommy buys real estate, like for real. Mom has like real estate for real. Every time someone sells a house, mom wants to go and buy it. I'm just like, mom, where are you getting this money from? What is going on? All right, so let's see what else is on here. What's the behind the scenes story? I already told you all the behind the scenes story of my neighbor. What's going on with it now and what are the future plans? So with my first property purchase of 3 acres that I paid $5,500 for back in 2016, right now that property is inaccessible because it is the rainy season. Right. And so because it's a rainy season, the property is in the wetlands, and it's called the wetlands because when it rains, it pours and you're going to need a boat to get to wherever you're trying to get to over in that area of the county. And obviously, since I don't have a boat and I'm not really that interested in it to go, that real interested in it to go and drive out there in a truck or in a boat or whatever gadget device, transportation mobile, I'm not really that interested in it. The main thing is that I have it and that I own it. Now, when we went out there, because someone tried to pay me like 5 times the value of what I originally paid to go and buy the property from me, and I declined the offer, obviously. But you know, I'll do a separate video on why I declined that offer. But when I went out there, it was brought to my attention that people go out to that area so that way they can do ATVing and stuff like that. And I'm just like, if y'all are escaping to this part of the county to do ATVing, right? And my land is prime land for you to do your ATVing. I'm like, why can't I just create, you know, like the Disneyland version for ATVs, right? Because if you all know the backstory of Disneyland, Disneyland was really built on that type of land, right? So when Walt Disney was going out and seeking out locations to put Disney World, that's really what he did. He went to like an uninhabited part of the county. Well, it's in a totally separate county in Florida, but that's what he did. So I'm thinking to myself, like, why can't I create like the Disney World, Disneyland for ATVs on my property? I mean, I have 3 acres. Mom has the other 3 acres, and mom is always down for anything business, anything entrepreneurship. That's where I get it from, y'all. I get it from my mama. No, but seriously, I do. So yeah, I'm just like, oh, because a lot of people when we were talking, they were like, oh, you need to sell the property, you need to sell the land. No one really lives out there. They're just out there on generators because the county is never gonna run real electricity out there because that area is protected by wetlands. And I'm just like, okay, you're telling me that people are escaping out here to do ATVs. It sounds like I need to be charging them to be running the ATV on my property. It sounds like I need to make the Disneyland for ATVs, ATV World or something like, I don't know, ATV World or something. But long story short, that's my journey when it comes into buying my first ever real estate investment. My first ever property was a 3-acre property purchase. It was raw land. There is no structure on there, no housing or anything. It was raw land, and that's what I was looking for because I'm into agriculture. I spent $5,500 just on the land, but of course there are other additional fees like closing costs, title fees, all this other stuff. But I will send that information out to those. I will email and send a text out to those that are inside of my real estate investment group. So if you want to join that, definitely go ahead. And right now it's free. And if you know anything about me, my prices always increase. So right now, my real estate investment group is 100% free. So go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is tc.atkinson, tc.atkinson. The link is going to be down below. But I'm so happy and so excited. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. I'm so glad and so grateful to take you on this journey with me and to share. And I'm very glad to get back on YouTube. I'll save my YouTube journey for another video. I have to go to a meeting. I am going to be late and I'm going to end this stream. Thank you. And please, whatever you do when it comes to business, please understand that the possibilities are endless. Okay, the possibilities are endless. And the only thing that you need to really focus on is honing your mind. All right. 90% of entrepreneurship is your mind. All right. And you'll see that as I go more through my entrepreneurship journey on this platform. I will share with you and you'll get it. But I hope to make you obsessed with being an entrepreneur and being a successful entrepreneur that is highly, highly profitable. See you guys.